Hello and welcome into the first edition of the PL Express. This is a new digital show exclusive to YouTube here on ESPNFC with myself and Janusz Michallik. Every week we'll be looking back on the weekend that was in the Premier League. We'll be looking at 5 of the biggest topics, which we deem the biggest topics, but don't worry, we'll be going into subplots as well as to what else happened in those games. You're excited to get started, Janusz?
Yes, I guess we're going to bow down to Her Majesty, the Premier League, right? And then talk about, all the goals, controversies, the big games, the outcomes, who's going to win it, who's going to lose it. No, I think we're going to have fun with it, and we're going to be unbiased towards your team, we hope. I may go for a rent of 2K, but I'm pretty sure you're going to keep me in check.
I know, I'll be keeping you in check, don't you worry. I'll be challenging you sometimes too, Janusz, but let's tell them what's coming up in the first edition of the show. So, after 4 straight wins, are Manchester United a part of the title race? And what did the Gunners learn from their loss? We'll be talking about what is wrong with Liverpool and what the verdict is on Darwin Núñez so far. Haaland is on 10 goals already. How many more will follow? Are they over-reliant on him already? We'll be talking City too. We'll be talking Chelsea and Thomas Tuchel's best 11. What is it? Does he even know? Can Aubameyang fix the problems there at Chelsea? And we'll be discussing Spurs too in the Conte mould. There'll also be other business that we'll do some quick hit style takes on. But let's get started with the first topic, Janusz. And it is a big one. It's what's wrong with Liverpool. Now, if you look at the Merseyside derby at the weekend, yes, Jordan Pickford was man of the match. It was a brilliant showing from him. Yes, they hit the woodwork, but there's still a lot more going on at Liverpool that needs to be addressed. So if you just look at it as a whole, what's your first thought on what the problem is there?
Just the energy and injuries. And I know it's not a thing to say for people, but sometimes you have to say it, right? You can't stay away from something that's so obvious, right? And it's obvious to everybody, but then we think it becomes an excuse, but it doesn't. And the number of injuries that Liverpool has had early on, in particular in that midfield, of course, the fact that Darwin Núñez missed 3 games, that's down to him, of course. I think because of the midfield not being settled and the robust midfield that really starts everything that Liverpool do well. They're also not protecting the back four, and we've seen some weakness in terms of injuries come. Remember a couple of years ago when Liverpool weren't all that great, when Van Dijk went out and Joe Gomez was injured and Matip is forever injured, right? Ibrahima Kone, again, he's had history with Leipzig with all the injuries. And so there you have it. And no matter how big the club is, no matter how deep you think they are, if you don't have the pieces that needed to play in a certain way, it's going to cost you problems. And I think Liverpool are paying the price for that a little bit.
Let me talk to you about Mohamed Salah then, because there's been a lot of talk about him, and there's a few ways of looking at this. Is he not getting the service he needs? Is it the fact that he's getting older and maybe he's going to be slowing down anyway? What do you think's wrong with him? Or is this just linked to what you were just discussing?
First and foremost, get him the ball. He is by far the best player on the team. And I don't know if you watched that game, but I watched a couple of things. First, before I get to the numbers, I look at Trent Alexander-Arnold, who plays on himself, who has been, in my opinion, Liverpool's best player and best playmaker. And that shouldn't happen. That shouldn't happen. I mean, Mo Salah in the first half had 17 touches on the ball. And I wrote it down somewhere. And of course, as I got prepared, 53 for Trent. Just imagine that, right? By the time Trent went off, it ended up 43 for Mo Salah and 66 still, the total was 66 for Trent when we went off as a substitute. Look, Trent Alexander-Arnold should be your bonus. Mo Salah's got to be your focus. And right now, you've got to play to his feet. He's not involved. And you saw when Trent went off, it was actually better. He had a couple of chances, Mo Salah. So don't stay away from your best player. If you Mo Salah, I've been on a number of teams where I didn't have Mo Salah, but we've had players that we trusted that if you give them the ball, they can do some magic, right? And we went to them over and over and over again because those players thrive on that. Their confidence in the beginning of the game is to get the ball at their feet, couple circles, maybe give him the touches, give him that confidence. Remember a couple of years ago when Mo Salah was scoring these incredible goals, surrounded by 5 or 6 players, going by them and scoring goals. When was the last time you've seen that? I could make a case, when was the last time he's beaten 1 or 2 players? So I think that's something that in the absence of Sadio Mane, we all know about that, with all the injuries you've had, with Darwin Nunez being new on the team and suspended for 3 matches, why would you not look exclusively really for Mo Salah to get him going? So look, I'm not sitting here and telling you that Trent Alexander-Arnold is a bad player, because they've said he's been the best player, but in a dynamic of the team, that's not necessarily a good thing. And he's been too much of a focus for Liverpool. And as you know, in the best of times, everybody kind of is looking at Trent saying, hey, take Trent out of the game and maybe the rest of the team doesn't function the way it should. I think that's the case.
When you say he's been the best player, you mean he's been the best player over what period of time?
The season I'm talking, if you look
You're
at
talking about this season. You think he's been up to his best this season?
Well, I mean, in terms of what he does, watch where he plays. I mean, he's coming more inside more and more. He wants the ball all the time. He's crossing the ball, you know, I don't know more than ever because I didn't look at these stats. What I'm saying is that he does that very often at the expense of Mo Salah, because Mo Salah comes inside often to create space for Trent to get there, right? Kind of unannounced. That's the role of a good fullback, that sometimes you want to come into the game a little bit late. The focus is on Salah, on Nunez, on your strikers. And then when defenders and midfielders are paying attention to the attacking players, then you have your fullback or wingback, whichever system you play, come in, right? And we all know that Trent does that well. But when Trent is coming ahead of Salah or starts to come inside very often, you know, who's on that side? So I just think that you know, for me, I look at Mo Salah, and before you ask what's wrong with him, maybe nothing. Maybe he's just being overlooked a little bit. And I think that you know, that's the first thing that you fix.
So is it fair to bring up the fact that he is 30 now and there may be a drop off just naturally with what we've seen with players in this position?
I mean, a drop off at 30. My goodness, look at me. I'm 50 some, and I still haven't dropped off. No, but
You're not leading the line for Liverpool, Janusz.
Yeah, you know, I mean, look, we often look at that, but I don't think it's a drop off. I think, you know, the system has changed. Sadio Mane, obviously, it was a big loss, and people don't like when we bring this up over and over, but it's important because I think, you know, there isn't a player you can replace with Sadio Mane. There just isn't. So what does it mean for Liverpool? I think, you know, first and foremost, they wanted to keep him. Sadio Mane wanted to leave. What are you going to do about that? But I think that Klopp and Liverpool knew that that system of high pressing, but most importantly, the recovery of the ball, the counter pressing, is going to change. I mean, this is kind of plan B. Maybe nobody wants to admit it, but Liverpool, I think, is going to have a hard time playing the same way as we've known them. I think they can come maybe close to that if you get all the midfielders healthy and all that. But I just think that counter pressing in particular, look, Sadio Mane was the first one that started the press. Even when he was in a situation 40-60 against him, he still won you the ball. I'm not even talking 50-50 because nobody's taking the ball off of him, right? But even when it was 40-60, because of his physical nature and how quickly he recovers. And, you know, I look at Luis Diaz, and I think he's very good defensively. He tracks back, but I don't think physically he's able to do what Sadio Mane has been. There's nobody there. So I think Liverpool game is going to change regardless, even when they have everybody.
So obviously you've mentioned Darwin Nunez, and it's hard right now because it would be a small sample size that we would be using. And obviously they're going to have to adapt to him as well, and he'll have to adapt to the team too. It works both ways. But what's your verdict on him so far?
Yeah, we have to wait because of the 3-game suspension. I mean, he was firing, he was scoring, right? And maybe if he played in the last 3 games, that allows him 3 more games to get used to, not just Premier League, because that's too easy to say, but used to his teammates, right? Because you're always looking for strengths and weaknesses. Look, I mean, you've told me what's changed with Liverpool. I mean, for the most part, there were 3 players. When you look at the Liverpool's lineup in the past, when most players are healthy, there was no decision to make. Everybody could name the starting 11, but one player, maybe. So right now you have the front 3 that, you know, Nunez new in and out because of the suspension already. Sadio Mane is out. Jota's out, just coming back. So I think that's part of the problem. But I think in terms of Nunez, we just have to wait. Again, those 3 games are crucial because they're right in the beginning of the season when a lot of things are being decided right now, aren't they?
Yeah, so in summary, let's say Liverpool need to get some of these missing players back, and they need to be getting the best out of Mohamed Salah by giving him the tools that he needs. Would that be fair?
It is fair. It is fair. But I think, as we've said, and I'll repeat this over and over, it used to be, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon in the Premier League. To a degree, maybe, but I think we've seen with these small differences that it really isn't. I mean, a lot's being decided. The only good news is that Manchester City, who I think are, in most minds, leaders, are dropping points as well. But we'll get to them later, because I don't even think that, they'll worry about dropping these points too much.
Well, given that you mentioned them, we will move on to them, but just to mention that Liverpool do face Napoli in the Champions League this week. That's going to be an interesting one to see. But let's get to Manchester City, shall we? And we'll get to the game and everything that happened there. But we have to start with Erling Haaland. 10 goals already, Janusz. I mean, we knew he scores goals. We know it's what he does. But could you even have expected to see this many at this early stage from him?
No, I mean, I can't say that I can't say that I thought that, but like you, I thought he was going to score, and it's just interesting how and when he scores, right? Because even in the beginning, he was coming into the midfield, he wants space, right? I think he's recognized immediately, or maybe Pep told him that you're not going to see space against us here, right? Everybody plays a low block. This is how it's going to be. Because I remember specifically in the first game, he was looking and trying to play maybe in transition because of his pace and all that. And I think, hey, now you look at 10 goals, six of them in the 6-yard box, right? 2 or 3 of them are just tap ins from 1 yard or half a yard. His instincts, his first step, which is incredible, and we've seen that already on numerous occasions. The other 4 inside the penalty area. That in itself is a little bit different, right? Because we always kind of look for him to play a little bit on the counter. So he's been tremendous. I think, as we know, there are players around him that they can always find him, either in the midfield or in the wide areas. I think he's learning that a lot of movement, it may not be the best for him, right? He's also learning now that he doesn't need a lot of touches, and that there's a recognition of that, and numbers show that. And I think he quickly has recognized that, you know what? It may not be all that hard if I just stay in the right area in front of goal, because my strength, my instincts, my first step may just do it. I mean, we've seen it where, with ease, he pushes away or takes defenders with him and still finds a way to poke it in. I think, was it against Forest? I think in World. There's a number of goals where he just, even when marked very, very tightly, even when pulled, he still finds a way. So I think that's that's Manchester City's plan B. No question. We've always asked about plan B because there wasn't one. But this is a plan B. This is a plan A and B.
I was going to say, he's looking a bit like a plan A right now.
Well, yeah, but look, okay, funny that you mentioned it, because I think Manchester City would have been doing that with him or without him. They're still.
Well, they would be scoring the goals, right? They're always scoring the goals, but is he going to be scoring the majority of them now? It seems that way. Maybe they would have been scoring these goals anyway. But then it's something that I know I've talked to you about. Do you think there is a fear that there may be an over-reliance on him, or the fact that they can score means that they'll be okay?
I think that there can be, right? We saw against Villa how narrow Steven Gerrard played them, and it made it difficult for Haaland and for everybody, really. It made it difficult because players were looking at him, right? There's already, look at Kevin De Bruyne, that specifically kind of wants to pick him out because he's got that pass, right? He doesn't worry that Erling Haaland's got 6 guys on him. He's going to still make that pass. He's done that with Haaland or without him. So that's not an issue. But I'll tell you what, if Pep Guardiola feels that Manchester City are predictable, imagine him. If there's anything about Pep Guardiola and his team, is the fact that he's unpredictable. He's ruthless. There's zero doubt in my mind that if Pep feels that the team is predictable, he sits him. There's no question. He's done it to Bernardo Silva after a season when he was unplayable. Remember that 98-97 season where Bernardo Silva, even now, he wanted to leave after not being in the starting 11. Then all of a sudden he plays well. He's done it with Mahrez. He's done it with Sterling. He's done it with everybody. It doesn't matter who you are for Pep Guardiola anywhere. He will drop you if he feels that the team's not benefiting. Now, it's not going to be an easy conversation, but the way I see Pep and the way I know, he's going to say, hey, you're doing everything right, but the team's not clicking. You'll come back. We'll find ways, but we have to throw something different to teams so they don't feel that they can just do their homework saying this is the way they'll play. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if at times Pep Guardiola goes back to false 9 and there's going to be times where Haaland's going to play all the time and do what he does right now.
Well, he did say after this game, Pep, he said he liked everything defensively, but he said offensively they weren't so precise. Now, I want to stick with you on the Haaland topic, and I want to give you a figure, and I need you to tell me an under or over, and we're talking just Premier League goals, not goals in other competitions. Over or under 40 goals this season for Erling Haaland?
Is that before the World Cup or after?
The whole season.
No, you may get to it before Christmas. 40 in the Premier League? No, no, probably not. No, I know it's 10. I know it's early, but as I've said, I think you're going to see.
No one scored this many at this stage and in so few games in the Premier League to start a season, right?
Yes, but I mean that's a big ask. And part of me thinks, wow, if he gets 40, that predictability stays there. Nobody can figure it out. There'll be teams that'll figure this out somehow. And, we do have to worry about his, he's still very young. He's explosive, right? Pep is probably smart enough to know he's going to have to give him some time off. I don't know what competition, but, maybe in Europe he plays. And don't you think that, as I said, there's going to be times that he won't play. And I'm not saying he's going to get injured, but they're conscious of the fact that how young he is. The way he plays, explosiveness for those muscles and history of Dortmund. No, not 40.
Over or under 30, then I'm going to drop a whole 10 there. Over or under 30 goals in the Premier League.
I could see that, of course.
Over 30.
Of it, yeah. So it's going to be 39. He's not going to get to 40, but he's going to get to 39. How's that?
Because the interesting thing is when it comes to the Kevin De Bruyne and Haaland duo so far, and obviously it's early days, there's been 2 goal combinations so far. Now, Kane and Son hold the record in a single season with 14 goal combinations. Would you say that's under threat this season because of KDB and Haaland?
No, it isn't. Son and Kane, that record only happened because these two understood that if they don't do it, nobody else on that Spurs team was going to do it, right? Here you have Gundogan, you have Bernardo Silva, who's, you have Phil Foden, who can provide the ball. You have, as I said, 3-4 magicians on that team that at any given moment, they can all find Erling Haaland. So I don't think you're going to see, in fact, I don't think you're going to see them coming anywhere near to what probably, well, I don't want to say that, but I don't see it.
And just a quick word then on City's result here. Was it a fair result in the end?
I don't want to take anything away from Aston Villa and Stevie Gerrard because it was a sort of game and result that he badly needed, and they were good. But kind of coming back to Haaland, remember in the 4th minute, Kyle Walker took a terrible shot, even though Haaland was wide open. I remember, I don't know if it was the first game of the league or second, Phil Foden was the same, and Pep Guardiola went ballistic on Foden. Probably did the same with, if City scored that in the 4th minute, which was an open goal, if Kyle Walker just found him, would have been done and dusted. So I think, what Villa did is what we know what needs to be done to play and be successful against Manchester City, and that is to obviously defend well, but also ask questions. And it's not that they had great chances, but they attack Manchester City. We've seen Newcastle do this. We've seen Liverpool do it. And on top of that, you need a lot of luck. So I want to give something to Aston Villa there. The fair, City are much better team than Aston Villa, even in this game when they weren't perfect. But sometimes you get a result, and I thought Villa looked good or better.
Better. Talking of better, Chelsea getting better this weekend, it has to be said. Bouncing back, but does Thomas Tuchel know his best 11? And is it a case that maybe he doesn't know his best 11 because he's got new players in and new players to even feature for the first time for Chelsea? So we're just going to have to wait a little bit to find out, as is he.
Well, look, it doesn't look like he does, but it may be for the reasons that you've mentioned. And we've talked about Chelsea and all kinds of chaos, and that chaos continues, right? It's not an easy one. I was thinking how to come down on this because, it's easy to, in our job, it's easy to just go at it and say Tuchel's got to go and these players are not good. But at the end of the day, I have to look at it from a standpoint, have I been in a situation like this? And if I haven't, what would have happened if it was? And look, that chaos started obviously with Roman Abramovich. We all know the story. Late into the transfer market. I mean, I don't want to say they were bankrupt, but for a while they couldn't do anything financially, right? So that the market started late for them, which is not always the case. And then you have the new ownership that comes in and spends an incredible amount of money because they have to. And somewhere in between, because of what happened in the conflict in Roman Abramovich, or in the war, I should say, not even conflict, is that some players wanted to leave, others didn't know what was going to happen. So imagine finishing the season like that, thinking what may happen, who's going to be the owner, then finding out, okay, it's not so bad, but I'm gone, or I want to be gone anyway. So what do we know about Chelsea, Thomas Tuchel? That he's still pragmatic. Defensive stability, okay, is the most important thing for Thomas Tuchel, right? He's going to sacrifice what's going to happen going forward if he feels that the back three or four and that midfield is one where it's difficult or almost impossible to score against. I mean, look, you're losing Christensen, Rudiger. For most of the time right now, you have Thiago Silva, the oldest player that you have, having to play every game because Koulibaly comes in, scores a wonderful goal, but gets red carded. Fofana comes in straight to the lineup, right, after a long saga of it all. In the midfield, you have N'Golo Conte, who showed you how incredible he can be in that game against Spurs, right? So flashes of him, injured again, and we know he's not going to probably be able to go the whole season. You have Jorginho in and out. You have Kovacic that started injured. I mean, I think I think he knows the starting 11, but he just doesn't have it.
Okay, so let's talk about Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, because that's surely got to change a lot for him.
Absolutely. And I think this was a great move. It almost doesn't matter it matters what he does or he does not, but it stops the narrative that you and I and everybody else will bring, right? Because they didn't have a number 9 and they didn't have one that was scoring consistently. So at the very least, now you're getting a player that has scored in the Bundesliga, that obviously scored at Arsenal, a player that went to Barcelona, looked the part, and score goals. So you have a player that at least gives you that little bit of peace, right? Where you can maybe put those pieces that we're talking about together. And now when you start to get most people back, you have Aubameyang that's going to have to do the job. And we'll see if he's up for it, because Lukaku, we thought the same, but somehow he didn't do it. Timo Werner wasn't the man. I don't think Kai Havertz is the man, even though he's
Yeah, but these two have got the relationship already, Janusz. Aubameyang and Tuchel.
Well, but he's going to find a way to play him. And yes, Thomas Tuchel will probably live or die by him. I mean, Thomas Tuchel's job is on the line. I think he's got to be careful here, because
I'll save that thought, because we've got a hot seatometer. Actually, we're going to have one every week. We'll see how close he is to the hot seat. But you do think there's a concern?
Well, I do. I'll say it because I'll forget it. Just remember what I said.
I won't, but go on.
Well, I do, because with Abramovich, remember how short the leash was, right? I mean, he wasn't afraid to change managers, and he was always proven right. Now with Todd Bowley, and I don't know that for a fact, but we sometimes here in this country go, in America, always number one, and I cringe at that. It's true, by the way, but we don't know him. But I tell you what, Todd Bowley probably is that sort of a man, because he didn't spend $400 million before the season, took ownership of that club to say, you know what, we're good making top 4. Look, how much does a top 4 get you, or Champions League? We know it's a lot of money, but when you spend $400 million, even winning it doesn't get you that money. It probably doesn't matter. I mean, it's a given that they have to be top 4, right? So I have a feeling that that Todd Bowley is going to be very much like Abramovich in many ways. I don't know how he's going to execute that. And I'm not sitting here and he's saying that, 5 losses or something like that, and the new manager coming in, but I wouldn't be surprised. I think he took this over. I think people like that, who are so hands-on, mind you, because you have the Kroenkes of the world, you have Glazers of the world, right? They're rich, they're maybe even richer, but they're not so hands-on. I think he came here, he spent an incredible amount of money, and he's saying, look, I want results, right? Maybe somebody's going to sit him down and say, yeah, well, by now, the way we started already, we don't have everybody just yet. Yeah, coming first ahead of Manchester City or Liverpool may not happen just yet. But I'll tell you what, if there is a worry about top four, or this, things aren't going well in the current edition of the Champions League, do you think this Todd Boy is going to say, yeah, I'll give him time? I don't think so. I think Tuchel knows.
Well, time will tell. Now, we can't go past this game without talking about the VAR situation, and it's going to help us delve quickly into quite a few situations over the weekend where we'll get a yes/no answer from you. But West Ham, as of today, are seeking clarification over the decision that ruled out Maxwell Cornet's equaliser. Very, very upset about this decision. Many people upset about VAR. Where do you stand on it?
This particular situation or VAR?
This particular situation, and then we'll get into VAR across the weekend.
I changed my mind on it. At first, I thought, because I always think, see, that's the problem with the laws in VAR and the minute detail and the slow motion, that I went from normal gut feeling as a former player, where I could just say yes or no, to like finding a reason why this goal may not stand, right? And that's the problem we have. I almost want to say, like, give us our game back. I don't have the answer for it, what needs to happen, but it just, I don't want to be talking about it every show here, right? Because it's boring to me. But in this particular, I was looking for something, and I said, well, maybe there's some sort of law that I don't know, right? I'm not a referee. They say pundits have to know laws of the games. I used to know the laws of the games because they were simple. Now I have to have a book, and by the time I find the law, yourself, it's over. So I thought maybe because it was close to his head or something like that, but no. The short answer to that is there was nothing there. The goal should have stood. Look, I'll tell you that I think Mendy felt guilty because he knew he made a mistake, not the first one in the game. When he was kind of punching or pushing that ball away, he knew he was in trouble. I think that Jared Bowen was probably thinking that if he goes down, it may be a penalty, but he didn't go down, right? I mean, did he do absolutely everything to avoid contact? No, but and at the end of the day, this needs to stand as a goal.
Okay, yeah, Moyes called it a ridiculously bad decision, and obviously we're going to hear more about it. But let me bring up a few of the decisions over the weekend then, and you can give me a yes or no, because there's been a bit of an upset this weekend about VAR, whether there's a crisis there. Okay, Virgil van Dijk's tackle has been one of them. Where do you stand on this one?
Yeah, I think he knows that could have been a red, right? It's nowhere near the ball, kind of stood there on him as well. I mean, it was a tackle. I mean, his shin studs very late to it, and kind of, I don't know if he stood on his foot because he kind of wanted to make sure that he doesn't go completely through it or whatever the reason. But if that was shown a red, there'd be no complaints, I promise you.
All right, so that's the first one of them. Newcastle's goal getting overturned.
And that was, I have to look, Tyrick Mitchell.
Yeah.
It was an own goal, right? And
yes, an own goal.
Joe Willock really being pushed into
Guaita. Yeah.
Guaita. That should have stood, because I think Tyrick Mitchell, I mean, at the very least, there should have been a penalty anyway, right? But it went in, so you can't reverse that. Yeah, I don't see any problem right there, because I think there was a push in the back of it, and then in the end goes off his chest. I didn't see a problem with that. That's a goal for me.
Leeds no penalty, which obviously had Jesse Marsch extremely frustrated.
Oh, I think it's a penalty. I think it's a penalty because remember some of the laws of the games, and that was Aaron Hickey on Somerville, wasn't it?
Somerville, yeah.
First of all, Somerville embarrassed him, beat him, all ends up. He knew he was late. Remember, the hold on the jersey was outside, but remember, there's a law. If you continue that into the penalty area, just because it's outside doesn't matter. Now, I don't know if that stopped it on the line. If it did, that's part of the penalty area. But the contact afterwards and the pull on the shoulder, that to me is a penalty. I mean, he was beaten all ends up. He was doing everything possible to bring him down. But what needs to be done is look for the ball and actually win it, right? So I can understand why he was frustrated. I'm assuming that's what he was talking about. I don't know what language Jesse was using. Now, I can still go to Jesse Marsch and say, look, man, you're new to this league. I know the frustration. I know you have to protect your team. So you know, your team is better when you're on the pitch, not off the pitch. But in terms of that to me was a penalty.
All right. Coutinho goal disallowed.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've all seen it. I mean, that's crazy. You know, in the old days, no VAR, that would have been a nice goal, right? Yes, you know, it was an immediate decision. And obviously, you know, once that decision was made, it was too late. The referees or the assistants are being told to wait. Sometimes they're frustrating because everybody knows that it's a clear offside, and we're saying, why don't you raise the flag? So, you know, you can't have it both ways, because I think that's the situation. We all get so frustrated that they don't do it, Kay. But I mean, obviously that's a goal.
Yeah, all right. Brighton's Alexis McAllister with a goal of the season contender that will never be.
What happened before that? Yes, there was a free kick, and I think it was Mwepu, right? Mwepu made a play on that ball. I know we don't like it when the free kick comes from a wide area. Mwepu, I think he was making that bicycle kick attempt, overhead attempt, wasn't he? I mean, he played the ball. He played on the ball while being in an offside position. So I had no problems with it. Can't say that I caught it immediately in the game. I was like, well, why? We want to see beautiful goals like that. But I think there was a right decision. When you go to VAR and kind of they tell you, well, look at this situation, which maybe they, you know, with the referee, they have to point toward that. Yeah, right decision.
Is VAR a problem? Yes or no?
Yeah, people operating it, yes. I mean, you know, we always say VAR, and then you get everybody saying it's not VAR, it's the people. Well, of course, I wanted to say that because I'm going to continue to say that VAR is the problem, and I hope everybody understands that we're talking about people operating it, and not anything else. So look, there's no going back, but you know, like everybody else, I want to enjoy the game. I just kind of, after this weekend, again, I want, just give me my game back. I just want this, you know, be spontaneous, but you know, it's not going away. So I've made peace with that.
All right. So we will be moving on to talk about Manchester United. But first, before we do, we have to talk about Tottenham Hotspur getting a win with Antonio Conte's fingerprints absolutely all over it. And surely the Spurs fans can't be too upset about this either.
No, there was I suppose a little bit of nervousness. That's the only thing that he'll be worried about, because it was an easy game to agree for them. When I say easy, I mean they controlled the match, obviously 2-0 ahead, and Alexander Mitrovic comes in with a goal and a couple of chances late as well. So that's something that's not going to sit with him. But yeah, don't expect fireworks with Antonio Conte and his teams anywhere, right? It's just not going to happen. And to be absolutely fair, this team at this moment doesn't have the players to have. Well, let me rephrase that. It's not a team built for fireworks, right? Because we can say, yeah, Harry Kane, and you know, we obviously know that Heung-min Son hasn't fired yet in terms of scoring. I still think he does a lot of good stuff, but he's not there for it. You look at that midfield and it's functional, it's very good. Højbjerg scoring goals, but you know, Bentancur, but yeah, you can say that they're missing, I don't know, the Bruno Fernandes, the Eriksen type, or, you know, Thiago Alcantara. I still think they do, and they're still not perfect in the wide areas. And Kay, I don't have to tell you, because we're all big fans of Serie A. I know how knowledgeable you are about that, and you know that the wide players are still not where they need to be for this team to function absolutely perfectly. So it's good, great start. They where they want to be. I think it was, for the most part, an easy win for Spurs. That's what I would expect.
Okay.
That.
This didn't come as a surprise to anyone, I don't think, but there was high praise from Antonio Conte about Richarlison, who is so his type of player. And I think we knew that from the very start. But I want to talk about this for Spurs. So Champions League next, they're against Marseille. They're at home for that game. And then they've got Manchester City. How does their week ahead look to you?
Easy. No. Yeah, that's tough. Who did you? Olympique Marseille at home. And then what did you say? Manchester City, huh? Oh,
Just
he's gonna.
Manchester City, just the free scoring Manchester City.
Yeah, that for Conte, that's an important one. You know, Conte, I mean, I don't want to say the ego because I don't necessarily think it's that warrior mentality. He's going to be looking just like,
Well, he's
like,
not scared of City, is he?
no, he's not, but he's going to be, he won't admit it, but he's looking ahead. Pep and him, who's the manager? How to outwit him, right? And we all know Conte, when he's got time, right? That all cliche, but it's true. When he has time to prepare, he'd have a plan for Manchester City. He has to play against Olympique Marseille. That's going to be important. I think, in general, if you look at Antonio Conte, I think he came out the other day saying kind of, look, we're not where we need to be. Yeah, we didn't buy a player for 100 million on the last day of the deadline, and I think he's right about that. He did good business early on, but in the end he couldn't answer some of the other teams. But he knows that he'll want to win a trophy. I don't care what that is. We'll wait a little bit for FA Cup and League Cup because he knows he's going to be a hero. If he wins something, it's like any manager, he's going to be a hero. So it's a tough one. We've seen Olympique Marseille also with a pretty good start. He's not going to overlook that, but what do you think? He's got to be thinking about City and Pep.
Of course he is.
I think the lineup, he doesn't change very often, but would you be shocked if he kind of tweaks it a little bit or starts making substitutions, thinking ahead to City? He's got to be tempted early.
I wonder how many kilometers they're going to be running in their training sessions. Just quickly then, seeing as though I've done it on Haaland and seeing as though Kane's got off to a good start, where are we on Harry Kane? Over or under 28 Premier League goals this season?
28. How many does he have now? 5, 6? What's he at?
What is he at?
Yeah, I don't. Well, it's
a
good.
lot.
Wherever he's been, right?
He's third on the list of all-time top scorers in the Premier League.
Yeah, 28. That seems. I mean, 25. I'd say somewhere there, and that'd be good. I mean, last season, what, 2 players?
25.
24?
Under 28, then.
Yeah, I think 25. Somewhere.
Not going to have the Haaland push. Where he's going to be trying to compete with him.
Be tough, but I think if he scores 25, say he scores 25 in the Premier League for Spurs, that means Spurs are in a good spot. I'm telling you that because look we're not talking about a slow start from Harry Kane. I mean, isn't that a bonus in itself?
No, that's a real bonus, especially for that player. But not that you ever worry about him across the course of the season anyway. Okay, let's get to the big topic then. Manchester United, who were on a good run and had got some momentum against Arsenal, who were on a great run and had a 100% record. Manchester United come through this one with the win, and they silenced the critics in more ways than one. First of all, I suppose the fact that they got this win at Old Trafford, Janusz, because for many you could say this was the test after what we'd seen with this run from them so far.
The test for Manchester United or for Arsenal?
Well, the test for both sides, but let's do it with the Manchester United focus, given that they were the winners in this clash.
Yes, look, I mean, it's incredible what momentum and positive environment does to teams, right? But look, let's be honest. I mean, did I think that Ten Hag maybe was in trouble early on? I mean, you have to think that. You can't. I can't believe there was somebody's there, but there was a thought. I was thinking, look, when they do get a win, when the negativity starts, there's enough talent, right? I don't know if I thought of Manchester United. I know I didn't think of Manchester United as this team that's going to be winning the title in the beginning, but I didn't think they were as bad as they were showing. So look, credit to Erik ten Hag for a number of reasons, because first of all, he didn't panic. He stood his ground and he was tough, right? He said, forget about Ronaldo, even though he was sending the right signals. We don't want him out. Maybe he was right, maybe he was wrong, but he wasn't tempted to start him. Same thing with Maguire. He stood his ground with Lisandro Martinez when everybody was saying that he was too small. And look what Brentford did to not just United, but to Martinez. He played him the next game. He also recognized the fact that all he needs is that one result. He's got good players. He probably already knew that he was going to get Anthony or players like that, right? And look, you beat Liverpool at Old Trafford. You beat Arsenal. I mean, those are the catalysts. And that's everything changes. So what has changed? I mean, did Ten Hag turn Manchester United over the course of last 2 weeks into this incredible team? No. They had talent, and And I just think that they needed that. And the energy was different. He complained about that, made them run, obviously, after that Brentford game. And he didn't give in to maybe some pressures from the outside. And you know the biggest bonus of all of that is right now on the 4-game winning streak? That look, you had Cristiano Ronaldo, who wanted to leave, who felt at that time that United were not good enough, to now seeing Manchester United being good enough without him. So imagine his pride and his ego right now, because the window's over. He's on the bench. He's not being part of that. What a bonus that is, because you know how he is right now. He's going to look back and say, I'm going to do absolutely everything so people are still talking about me. And that bonus hasn't come. And I'm not saying that he's starting all the time or not. But you watch how much we're going to be talking next 3 or 4 weeks about Cristiano Ronaldo, because he is going to get that 1 or 2 goals in some game. He's going to be back because you know what? He has to. Ten Hag showed him up, didn't he?
Well, and maybe things behind the scene, maybe he's accepted that, and maybe that's one less problem that he does have to worry about when it comes to the atmosphere in the dressing room. Now, obviously, you mentioned the Liverpool game, and I could have used that as a test, but because of when that came and the fact that they had to win, now that we've seen them on a string of wins, that's why it was good to see what would happen against Arsenal. When I talk about silencing the critics, there have been a lot of talk about Anthony, not least with the price tag that he had. But what a start for him, scoring on your debut, getting straight into the starting 11 as well. Maybe he'll silence a few of those critics just after one game.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm tempted, I'm tempted to say something more than what you just said, but I think, you're perfect in that. You got to be careful. Yeah, he scored, he looks the part. We need to see more, but I think it's the sort of player that if you can get past the price tag, because it's unbelievable. And okay, so
but it's not the only big price tag in this summer window in the Premier League either, is there?
And in order to look at it, what would justify for people out there the price tag? Was it going to be 30? I'm sure you're going to ask me, Anthony, 30 or more goals in the end. Were you going to ask me that?
No, I'm not. Don't worry. I'm not. I'm going to give him a break right now.
But what was going to justify 100 million? I don't know what that number is. How many goals does he have to score for me to say, you know what, he was worth 100 million, right? It's a team game. And ultimately, if I think Manchester United finish in top 4 this season, or maybe even higher, everything's justified. Ten Hag's justified. Anthony's justified. Keeping Ronaldo on the bench and maybe getting rid of him in January at the end of the season is justified. So I don't want to go there. But, I've seen him at Ajax. My question was, it's a little bit different. It's a massive club, which, by the way, Ajax is as well, right? For people can say, well, Eredivisie this or that, fair play. But Ajax are a massive, massive club. Always been and always will be, right? And look what they do. Even when after they sell everybody, they're still pretty nice to watch and pretty good and dangerous in
the Champions League.
Liverpool and Napoli and Rangers may find that out, by the way, right? But so he looks the part. We all know it, that he's one of those players that takes you on, unconventional. If you're a defender and I was a left back, I would be scared. Well, I'd be scared against everybody, never mind Anthony. But so look, yeah, great start, great goal, and just give him a little bit of time. And now they have players in wide areas that can do that to you, because Jadon Sancho is playing a little bit better, right, as well. So it's looking good for United. Amazing how a couple weeks changed the team.
Okay, quickly then. Marcus Rashford starting to look like the best version of himself as well. Obviously, that's a massive thing. 2 goals in this game.
3 goals on the season, a couple of assists. I put that down to positive environment. Look at all the negativity that we've had with Manchester United for the last few years under every coach. I think the pressure on him, everybody talking about, how long are we going to be talking about his potential? And by the way, that's right. I've said that before. It's not that I'm saying that people were saying. I've said that because I was waiting. How long are we going to wait for that? And some of it is down to the player, because I think you do have to show that and help the team when things aren't right. But maybe he needs that kind of, team playing well, the sort of manager that finds or gets the best out of players. Is it the fact that he's playing number 9 position? Maybe. Many have said that that's where he thrives. I don't think that he couldn't thrive in the wide areas, but now he can do both. And he's shown us so far that as a number 9, he can lead the line. So 3 goals, 2 assists. Last season was terrible for him. He's had a couple great seasons for United, didn't he, in terms of scoring goals? So maybe he's on the way back. I mean, what a massive bonus this is without Ronaldo and without Anthony Martial, who's injured again. The position is yours. I mean, yours. No, sorry, not yours. His.
It is, yeah, obviously. But I know what you meant there. Arsenal's perfect record ends here. After the game, Mikel Arteta said his side didn't get the result that they deserved, that it was there for the taking. There's been a lot of talk, though, about his own in-game management, that triple change as well, very attacking after Manchester United went ahead. So where do you stand on what Mikel Arteta said after the game here, and what will he have learned from this clash?
He's learned that his team can play so far with anybody, because remember, everybody said, well, this is the big test. If you want to find a fault in someone, right, it's like VAR, right, in foul. If you slow it down, if you look at it, you can find a million things, right? And so people, after a great start from Arsenal, 5 games where they didn't have to face the top 6 or top 4, whatever you want to call it, in came a test. And you know what? Okay, they didn't pass it in terms of the fact that they didn't win it. But I think for me, if I look deeper, they've passed the test. They showed that they can play against United. Look, not an easy thing. I mean, they were the better team for long periods of time, right? Started slowly, then it was all Arsenal towards the end of the first half. In the second half, when they equalized, right, everybody said, you know what, they absolutely deserved it. They put Manchester United under tremendous amount of pressure. And, this is Manchester United that just beaten Liverpool. They're on a great run right now, right? I mean, if they played them in the first game or second game of the season, maybe Arsenal comes in here and wins it. So you have to take that into account, that this is different United team. And I thought they played well. They held possession. They were very dangerous. They created chances. So I don't think you can say that they failed the test. I guess it depends what thesis you want to prove. Do you want to prove a thesis that Arsenal, after 5 games, were undefeated and were they title contenders? I never believe in that. I bet you.
Well, they're still top of the table,
right? So I mean, they haven't failed a test because they showed well. I still think that they're, aren't they the youngest team in the Premier League still?
It's a very young side, which tells you about the lessons they've got to learn.
And you saw that 1 or 2 injuries, just like any club, right? I mean, Odegaard, people say they played better. I don't think he played badly. He was a doubt before the game. He was okay. I was surprised that he was withdrawn, maybe because of, but I didn't see anything.
So he did say his side lacked discipline as well. And obviously we've seen some of the disciplinary issues with Arsenal last season. But just while we are on that subject, just quickly, what were your thoughts on Odegaard's foul on Eriksen on that Martinelli goal that wasn't?
Well, I think given, in the past, I don't know, I would say it answered differently, but I think it was a foul. The fact that, he didn't get the ball, the real issue I have with that, the fact that it's soft, because people say, well, he didn't get the ball. But you know what? Even if he did get the ball, people in VAR would be saying, well, he went through the players first, because sometimes there's no way to get to the ball if you're behind without touching the player in front of you. So you watch, it's easy to say, well, you didn't touch the ball. It gives me an out because it was contact, and the way the game is called. Did you not think that it was going to be called back? I really thought it was going to be called back. So
yeah, of course.
Given the laws of the games, I get it. I don't like it. Even if he did get the ball, I promise you that VAR and the referee would say, well, but he made contact with Eriksen first before he got the ball, which all in itself, right? It seems crazy. So I feel bad because, look, Eriksen knew he was in trouble. He went down. He was smart because he knew he was getting his pocket picked, and he made the wrong decision. So he went down, and and there was contact. So I think they had no choice but to do that.
Okay, I think we can end just the topics here before we go into the any other business with Mark Ogden, our colleague's tweets. He said it really well on Twitter. He said that what we saw in this game was 2 big clubs who are back on the up, under their managers, and finally showing signs of life again. So we'll see what we get from them in the coming weeks, and there'll be a lot to talk about. Okay, go on.
Just Arsenal, as much as I like them and I agree with them, issues in the wide areas. Let's be honest here. I mean, we love Martinelli, we love Saka. They have nobody if they go down, nobody there. Unless I see the young Marquinhos coming in, 19-year-old, which we haven't seen, in this game. I don't even know if he played. Think about it. As good as they are, they don't have wide wingers to replace them. There's nobody. If Jesus goes down, you can say Eddie Nketiah. Okay. I mean, he's shown towards the end of the season he can. This year, probably. But I worry that they didn't address the issues. Why? They were talking about central players. We know they have injuries. But who comes in, and don't tell me Smith Rowe, because, I mean, he's not a wide player. He can play there. But it changes the way Arsenal play, Kate. I don't know if you agree with me, but they play with Martinelli and Saka in such a way because they attack you. They attack 2-3 players. If one or two are out, not only it's a big miss, but I think Arsenal has to play totally different without them. So I worry about that a little bit.
Well, we'll keep our eye on it. Okay. Any other business? These are just quick ones. Should other clubs have been after Brentford's Ivan Toney, who saw a hat-trick from him? It's his second Premier League hat-trick. We know the story behind him. It's a great one. And now we're talking about him being on the radar for England. So should other clubs have been after him?
They probably have. And they will be. It's like Wilfred Zaha, same story, right? Zaha and Toney, two identical players. Should somebody else go after him? They do. For one reason or not, they didn't move. I think he'll be moving soon. But I guess that they were just turned down.
All right. Hot seatometer then. I did hint at this. And we know that Tuchel is not on the main hot seat this week. Maybe it's just a little warm for you right now. But in terms of hot, who are you going for? Got to be Brendan Rodgers, right?
Yeah. I mean, he's been vocal, right? He did what Scott Parker did at Bournemouth. It hasn't cost him just yet. At the bottom of the table right now. Team that should be playing much, much better. Players lost or not. I do believe that I think Leicester could have done better in the transfer market for him. But he's got to get, regain that dressing room. Now, I don't know if he's lost it, but it's not looking good. Too good of a team to be where they are. They will be off the bottom very, very soon. Like Manchester United were just a couple of weeks ago. The question is it going to be with Brendan Rodgers or without? But there's too much talent for Leicester to be where they are.
Well, that's one for us to look out for too. And I think that's it. Just a quick mention before we go. Don't need to comment on this, but just to bring up that Reece James has signed a new 5-year contract with Chelsea and Diego Costa is undergoing a medical at Wolves. So that could be interesting. But anyway, that's it for the latest edition of PL Express. Thank you so much for being with us. Make sure to join us every single Monday here on ESPNFC's YouTube digital page and send us your comments. Let us know what more you'd like to see here. And we'd love to address those issues.
See you next week.
Thank you very much for watching ESPN FC on YouTube. For more highlights, analysis, and exclusive content, be sure to subscribe.